What is going on, everybody? Critic and the Common Man here. Chris, we made it. We made it to episode 9, the season finale, long awaited, for Wandavision. Thank you guys very much for sticking with us through this short series. We really appreciate it. We've been behind on a couple, ahead on a couple. It's just, you know how it is. Life finds a way. But here we are, man.
Thank you, Jeff Goldblum.
You're welcome. There is a great picture of me on our Instagram that Chris made of my face photoshopped on Jeff Goldblum's body. Go check that out.
To confuse everyone, I'll just put that as the announcement for the new episode.
Perfect. We have had, let's just say it how it is, man. We won't pull any punches here. We've had, I would say, more negatives than positives to say about WandaVision so far.
And people don't like that.
People really
are very defensive of WandaVision.
They are. And I think this is probably a good chance for us at the kind of wrap up here, the season finale review, to go through the season and maybe kind of come to terms with some things that we didn't like, some things that maybe we did like, kind of say our final words on it, make our peace with this, and then we can move forward to other content. But yeah, this was a really polarizing show. I was surprised at the kickback or the friction that we met when we were not blown away by this right away. And you know what? To be totally fair, some of it kind of made me check myself a little bit and kind of made me reevaluate what WandaVision is supposed to be and what it ended up being. I read an awesome article on Collider, shout out to Collider, about WandaVision, and it basically was titled, WandaVision failed to deliver on a bunch of things that it never promised me. And essentially it's talking about how we as the fans kind of expected WandaVision, and I did this, kind of expected WandaVision to be more of a setup into this phase 4, and being that it was going to introduce more new characters.
Well, because we've gone a year without any Marvel stuff, so...
That's right. We've gone a year without any Marvel stuff. And, dude, like, it's just... They're starting this whole new phase, and we didn't... To be fair, we really didn't know what we were getting with WandaVision. Like, dude, do you remember when we went back and did a Tudor review, like a trailer review on the WandaVision? We had no idea. Yeah, we had no idea. They left so much to the imagination. And then really what it boils down to, and again, this is something that we can discuss, and you may disagree with this, but to me, the show really ended up being a drama. At least I think it ended up being really just a drama that had a sort of unique spin as it took its, went through time into the different shows. But I think it is important, that article being stated, that WandaVision never promised that it was going to bring in all of these Phase 4 things.
Or be action-packed or anything like that. Yeah.
It never promised it was going to be an action show, and it never promised it was going to be anything more than what it was. I think I definitely, myself, expected it, and I wouldn't even say expected it, but wanted it. I wanted it to be more. I wanted it to be kind of an action show, and I wanted it to hint at all these different characters that we didn't know about yet. And that didn't happen. We didn't get that. Real quick, hold on. We're going to pause. I got to plug my phone in. We will be right back. And we're back. My fault. Technical difficulties. I think I wanted it to be a little bit more, but to be fair, it never said it was going to be anything more than it was. It ended up being in my opinion, sort of a drama, which unfortunately just happens to be my least favorite genre. So it happened to be my least favorite genre of movie or TV show. I also am just not that invested in either Wanda or Vision as a character. As far as like the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe goes, I can't pretend that either Wanda or Vision were ever, my favorite character in this TV show.
I love Vision. So I was excited
for
this.
And there you go. And I think a lot of people did. And I think a lot of people like Wanda, too. She's an interesting character. But it was a little bit set up for failure for me. But let's jump into this season as a whole. Oh, no, sorry. Let's jump into episode 9 really quick. We'll talk about the finale, and then we can talk about the season as a whole. So what do you think of episode 9, the final episode in this saga?
I mean, episode 9 kind of started off at like immediately into the action, like she was caught, and then a fight broke out, and then everything kind of resolved itself. pretty much the entire episode was action, and in my opinion, was my favorite episode of the entire season so far.
Okay.
It had everything that I kind of wanted from WandaVision before. Other than that, I mean, there wasn't really much to go on as far as like, I mean, I guess, you know, there's the whole thing about her family and stuff. You need to chill, man.
He's like, but I love
you know, like, but I love you. There's just, what am I trying to say? There was a lot of action in this episode, and while there was some drama, most of the episode was, you know, a throwback to the old Marvel movies with, you know, flying in the sky and punching each other, and, you know, WandaVision using her powers and blowing up the hex and all that stuff. The callbacks with the runes and all that. I don't know. It was just, I thought it was more in line with like the Marvel movies than the show had been up to this point. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I don't know, for some reason still some of the flying scenes and stuff felt a little cheesy.
There was the CGI got very like Superman movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, where like they didn't move
Superman
naturally.
Movies? Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah,
it felt off, and it felt like you were watching a video game cutscene
yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah, but I'm willing to put that aside.
That.
You know, I still enjoyed it.
For sure. And those are the kind of things that we're willing to put aside because it's a TV show also. When you're not talking about some big I mean, technically this was like the most expensive show ever, but when it's not a movie, I think you're a little more willing to forgive stuff like that, like kind of weird CGI here and there. You and I have kind of come around the last couple episodes with WandaVision. We were pretty adamant that we weren't that into it up until you had said from the beginning that you were interested. And to be fair, you did say that, but really it wasn't for me. Dude, it wasn't until maybe episode 7 that I feel like I was actually like looking forward to the next WandaVision, and not so much like I kind of just am watching this because, you know, we're going to. It's the new thing.
Yeah.
The next big thing that was.
That's around the time the episodes started to change in their pacing.
Right.
For me, the biggest issue with the entire series has been the pacing. That's it. That's really it. I'm okay with the drama. I'm okay with. I just think that everybody's giving it a lot of love and praise for it being not necessarily the best show that I've ever seen. You know, I feel like there's a lot more that could be done, and I don't know. Anyways.
I liked this episode as a finale. It was heartfelt. It checked all the boxes. You know, it had the interesting action scenes. It had all the characters kind of come back in for their last hurrah. The fighting at the end was pretty interesting. I actually enjoyed, even though it was sort of goofy, I liked the Vision's conversations with each other when they're talking about, you know, like the philosophical questions of being and all that. I bought into that. I liked all of that. You know, how they kind of become, he kind of turned good.
That's an interesting thing that they talked about too. Just to, you know,
yeah, it is. I don't remember the name of the ship.
Theseus's ship. Yeah, the ship of Theseus or something like that. But like, that's an interesting conundrum, you know, like if you're repairing a ship that is 2,000 years old, eventually you have repaired it to the point where none of the original things are there. Is it still the ship, you know, like, So, yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting. It had some interesting philosophical points. Still don't love the actress who was playing Agatha. Now, obviously, I have the Spider-Verse poster right here. I love her as the voice of Doc Ock. I thought she nailed that role, no doubt about it. She was amazing in that. Give credit where credit is due. But I just didn't. I wasn't intimidated by her in this show. I wasn't ever really scared of her. I think Wanda. I will say, with all the negatives and stuff that I have, Wanda, what's her name, Olsen, and Vision,
Elizabeth,
Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen and the guy who plays Vision. Who, by the way, have you ever seen Legion? Have you ever seen the movie Legion?
No, is he in
like all those? Yeah, dude, that movie's dope. We'll watch that one for one of these episodes.
He's in A Knight's Tale. He plays Geoffrey Chaucer in A Knight's Tale, and then he's also he's also in The Da Vinci Code.
Oh yeah, he's the villain.
Yeah, he plays
The Da Vinci Code, the guy who does the self.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the word, and it's probably really wrong. Flagellation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
what
exactly
it's called when you injure yourself.
That is a whole category on Pornhub, Danny. I don't know how you.
Dude, I was toting the line on that. I didn't know what I was about to say. Yes. So I will say, of all the negatives, and I know I've been a little bit harsh on WandaVision, they are phenomenal in these roles as the Scarlet Witch and as Vision. They couldn't have picked anybody better. They carry themselves in those roles perfectly. I have zero qualm with the acting ability of either one of those two at all. I thought they absolutely nailed their roles in this show.
Agreed.
Completely convincing, and I thought their tone was always spot on to the episode. And I can appreciate the acting chops that you would have to, especially from Elizabeth Olsen, to be able to go through these different genres of TV show and kind of change your style of acting for almost every episode. And
It's kind of an actor's dream, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. And mission accomplished for her. She did a phenomenal job in this. So much credit to the acting in this show. I just the season finale, at the end, she basically sends Vision and the boys back into, or sends them away, as if saying she basically created them. It still left a lot to be desired, I think, as far as answering questions. And I'm still not exactly sure what we get next from WandaVision. Do we get another season of WandaVision? Now that we kind of had that post-credit scene or mid-credit scene even, where she was like in a village and then the Scarlet Witch was separate and going through the book. Do we get another season of WandaVision, or do we just see them in another movie? It depends on. I guess
don't
it depends
know
on what.
If we're gonna get another.
It depends
season.
on how Marvel sets them up or teases towards them in other content that they're going to come out with now.
Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna get another season. It's funny because we were like, "There's no way that they're gonna solve this in one season," and now I don't know if we're gonna get another season.
We might not. We might not.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about the lore, and we've talked about this before. I don't know enough about the lore to be able to definitively say what's coming next at this point. I'm sure there's some pretty good answers out there from people who do read the comics and everything. Let's talk about the season as a whole, Chris, because I think we're kind of doing that anyway. It's sort of inevitable now that we're at the end. And let's go out of our comfort zone here a little bit, and let's try to talk about some things that we actually did like about this now that it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean,
give some credit here.
Honestly, there's a lot to like about the show, and for me personally, the theme of the entire season is kind of what I liked the most, because it ultimately it's about Wanda dealing with her grief,
Right.
And it kind of culminates in I think it was the season finale, or was it? It might have been the episode before, but where Vision and her are sitting on the couch talking, and he says, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Mm-hmm. And that is, and first of all, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful lines out of any Marvel anything.
That is powerful.
But it also sets up the entire theme for the series up to that point, which is, Vision is basically telling her he understands, and I don't know. I wish that we had gotten more of that. Like, I would love to have seen that scene in one of the Avengers movies, because I feel like it would have put us behind Vision and the Scarlet Witch earlier in the series, rather than in Endgame or Infinity War when they're like suddenly together. So all of that is to say that the show just does a really good job of building up the characters that we have kind of grown used to over the course of the Marvel movies, in an interesting way, in a unique way. Like, we haven't seen a sitcom like, I Love Lucy or anything in a long time, so I can see where the appeal is for a lot of people. For me personally, it was just that it was leaning too heavily on that and not enough on the actual story and the writing. But overall, like, the show it got me laughs. It did a damn good job with enhancing the Marvel universe, adding some new characters. I wish we'd seen more of Photon, or whatever her name is in this.
Yeah, we barely saw anything.
Yeah, like, I don't understand her powers, and I'm curious to know more.
People like her are what makes me think there's going to be a second season of this show. I don't know that, but
yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they just had her show up in. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
All
right, perfect.
I don't even remember what I was saying, but I did enjoy the series as a whole. It's nice to see this entire section of the Marvel universe kind of built up and expanded on. I just think the pacing could have been a little faster.
I will go back on something that I said in maybe the second episode review that we did of WandaVision. I kind of ragged on this show for thinking it was creative just by going back to like a sitcom genre. And I will say that alone would not have been enough to carry me through this whole season. But now that we're sort of at the end of it here and we can look back at what this show has been, I will say it was pretty damn impressive how they were able to pull off the theming in everything going through the time. And I guess what I mean by that is like, dude, my wife and I were driving to dinner the other night, and we were playing Spotify, and it was like the Disney Channel on Spotify. She loves that. Whatever.
Yep.
I put it on. We drive. No big deal. I like the music too. It's good. It's cool. It's cool. I'm masculine. I like Disney music. It's fine, Chris. And sure enough, the freaking Agatha All Along song comes on Spotify. The song
that's
comes
bizarre.
on, and it's only like a 40-second thing. Like I don't even know who put that on there, but it just was sort of a reminder, dude. When you listen to that song, it's like a full-on produced themed theme song. And it's good. It sounds great, and it's creative. And it just made me realize that in every episode that they were going through, they fully themed everything out in these episodes. Even the commercials.
I was just about to say
did.
that, dude. The commercials all give you hints into what is going on.
I think the effort that went into this show is undeniable.
Oh, absolutely.
I think you have to give credit. Even if you don't like the show, which even as it's all said and done, spoiler alert, I still didn't really care for it. Even if you don't really care for this show, I think you can't rag on the effort that was put into making it. I do think that is undeniable because, dude, every episode, the theming is completely saturated in everything that they do.
You know what? I think ultimately what it comes down to for me, the reason I'm so hard on the show is because the movies are so powerful in their own way. You know, like taking aside the fact that it took them 20 years of building up these storylines before they culminated to, Infinity War and Endgame, which is an achievement and a marvel in film history. Like, they are going to go down in history for that. Even if it's not your thing and you're not into superheroes and you're not into that, like action movies and stuff, there's still enough drama and enough character and enough romance and everything. There's so many themes in every single one of these movies, even the bad ones. And I think that for me personally, I wanted more of that. And this is the first of the Marvel things that's a television series. And it takes a step down because it's a different type of pacing. And I'm trying to compare it.
It's a different medium.
It is, absolutely.
It's a different medium for Marvel to tell these stories.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, for me coming from a show like HBO's Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad, which are just the pacing is just so well, like those are the best writers in the world working on those shows, and not to say that they're not good at the Marvel Studios or whatever, but there's a difference in the pacing style, and I think I expected more of that level, and I don't think they're quite up to that bar, if that makes sense. And so I was just disappointed. I wanted more from Marvel because I've seen what they can deliver. And as far as the pacing and the action and the writing and the way, because the movies are so good at developing story, they're so fast because they have to do it all and condense it into 2 hours. I just expected more from WandaVision, but I didn't hate it, and I actually enjoyed it a lot.
Well, and the thing, yeah, and to be fair, with movies like the actual Avengers movies, and we talked about this before, they had hours and hours and hours of sub-movies that helped build up to these stories. We talk about the pacing, but really, it took a long time to get to the point where we were actually seeing these Avengers movies coming together and coming to fruition. Once again, man, and this is something I try to work on, and I think this would have helped with my issue with the pacing, I've got to be better about managing my expectations for what it is that we're watching. Because I went into WandaVision knowing nothing, and in my feeble mind, I immediately just assumed that it was an action story. And to be fair, I assumed it was going to be like all the other Marvel content that was out there.
Which is, I think, what I thought too.
Right. It's not like I'm like some moron for how could I ever imagine WandaVision wouldn't be an action movie? Like, dude, every other piece of Marvel content that we've gotten has been a certain genre. It's fit a bill. Now they're sort of changing, and that's okay. But I think if I had gone into WandaVision knowing it was going to be a drama, I don't think I would have been on the edge of my seat waiting for something to happen, because that's just not how dramas operate. It's not this fast-paced, action-packed content. It's just not.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in movies that we review, and it's just, if you're a person, quite frankly, if you're a person who loves drama movies, they're your favorite, and you and I, like you and whoever this person is who loves drama movies, it's going to be hard for us to see eye to eye on a lot of the content. Not just WandaVision. I'm sure if you went to criticandthecommonman.com and looked at all of our rankings, you could see that there's a trend in my ratings of dramas, because I'm just not that interested in them. I get a little bit bored, and I felt bored throughout the show with the pacing for the most part. The creativity, the effort for sure is undeniable. The acting from most of these characters is undeniable.
My logic is undeniable.
Yes, Vicky, undeniable.
I can't say enough that, like, there are positive things about this show, and there are good things to take away from it. It's just overall, when we're now looking at this entire season as a whole, and I knew we were going to say this, in my opinion, this whole thing could have been 4 episodes if you really boiled it down. Now, granted, most books could be 20 pages, but you know, you got to fill out some content and stuff too. I do understand that.
I think I agree though. I think
4 episodes.
I think it could have been cut down to, I think maybe 6.
Yeah, for sure. There's at least 2 episodes of fluff in there, for sure. And I think even the people that really liked WandaVision maybe would agree that it could have been a little bit shorter. Mm-hmm. But I think where people start to come in to defend WandaVision is when they say it's not an action show. Stop looking at it like that. It's a grief drama, and it's talking about how Wanda's dealing with her grief, and there's a deep psychological meaning to a lot of the stuff that's happening here. I still would have liked, if they're going to use WandaVision as a springboard to kind of launch into to Phase 4, I still would have liked to have seen more people teased the way that Marvel generally does. Who's this astrophysicist that Photon or what Monica Rambeau keeps talking about? Is Doctor Strange coming into play in this multiverse thing where they're pulling other characters in? Who's going to be the next? It's like they're just... We're waiting for them to drop stuff because Marvel has always done that. Just like Marvel has always produced kind of action-y, fast-paced, exciting content, and then we're left with something so dramatically different. It kind of just left a sour taste in my mouth, and I'm a little bit numb to the whole thing. I just wasn't blown away by this show.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I was,
again,
however, blown away by the last
as
episode.
Any show.
I will say that. I did really enjoy the last episode, and it was just so... satisfying to see Agatha get her ass handed to her by yeah. I mean, it was just, it was
runes,
cool.
When the clouds parted and the massive runes appeared on the walls of the hex, it was there. I will say the last like 2 or 3 episodes have definitely generated some emotional response out of me. For somebody that's kind of numb to this show at this point, it definitely pulled on my heartstrings a little bit, and the ending of the season finale was very powerful too. It left a lot of
and that's where
that's
where I'm saying I feel like if you had condensed the first 3 or 4 episodes into 2, you could have had a strong 2.5-3 hour film. But I have to keep reminding myself that this is not a movie. But I still think that there were at least 2 episodes in the beginning that needed to get removed because nothing really happened other than like, ooh, what's going on? You know, it's just
what's happening here. Yeah, that's fair. So, again, really polarizing show. If you had to rate this this whole season, if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, just like we do with the movies, where do you think you come in with WandaVision as a whole? Not just the finale,
as a whole,
but also not just the first 2 episodes. Where do you think you're at?
I am leaning towards a 7.5. It's as a whole, I think. I mean, exactly. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that I didn't like, even it being a TV series, because again, there's a lot of TV series that is just better paced, a lot of TV shows that are better paced. But there was a lot of stuff that it kind of made up for towards the end, and so I think that my score is kind of leaning somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8, but I think that the beginning still, it took too long for me, and I think that I'm gonna lean a little more towards the 7.5 than an 8, you know, overall. I still enjoyed it. I am looking forward to seeing what happens next. I want to know more about these characters. I want to see what comes out of this. I enjoyed the characters, especially Wanda and Vision. I'm curious, especially about this new Vision, whatever that was. Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for more. I just feel like the show stumbled a bit at the beginning, and it, in my opinion, needed a little tuning, a little fine tuning, and I think that just kind of pulled the score down a little bit.
Yeah. You're still, I think, higher than me, even at a 7.5, man. And it's so hard because it's like I feel everything in my like mind is telling me I'm supposed to like this. It's the new Marvel thing. You loved everything Disney's coming out with lately, on Disney Plus. You love Mandalorian. You have to like WandaVision. It's the biggest show ever, and everyone's watching it. You're gonna love it. It's got to be great. I'm just not there. I'm really not. Okay, it's a grief drama, and it's talking about how Wanda has dealt with her grief. That's fine, dude. That's just not my kind of show. Now, again, we're trying to be kind of unbiased on this a little more. I still think it's a little bit
biased
boring
right now.
Yeah, I still think it's boring. I still think that a strong finale, a good season does not make. You know what I mean? It's like you can't come in with 2 good episodes at the end of 9 hours of content and then expect us to love the first 6 episodes that, in my opinion, were so dull. I just didn't get out of those episodes hardly anything. There were a few episodes where I was just, I was like, what is, it was like the last minute they'd put some little teaser to lead you into the next episode, and then you were just lost. Honestly, dude, and I know this is probably a little bit harsh, I think I'm at a 6.5 on this show. And again, I know there's some people out there that are going to be like, oh, these people don't know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. This was this. And then maybe there's some people that hated it even more than that. I do think this, again, is just so freaking polarizing. But I'm coming in at a 6.5 for season 1 of WandaVision. I'm sticking to it. I don't think it's going to be a score that I look back on a month from now and like, man, maybe it was better.
Yeah.
I think that's just where I'm at. What else? You got anything else for season 1, man?
No. I mean, like I said, I want to know what happens. There's so many things that they introduced that, I mean, I feel like the questions are going to be answered in time with a new phase. So it's just, and it's sad because I wonder if like my score is higher because I'm just deprived of Marvel stuff and I'm just like, oh, finally something, like injected into my veins. But,
it's very different. If this is indicative of what the phase 4 is going to be, I'm not super excited, but I don't think that WandaVision is a good benchmark for how all of phase 4
and
is
I will
gonna
say
be. I don't think that's
that I looking at WandaVision, I'm a little worried about how I'm going to accept Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki.
I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a much different show, and I think it's made for a different audience. Now, we're going to see. But, I mean, if Falcon and the Winter Soldier isn't more classic Marvel, you know what I mean? I don't know what... And classic Marvel's probably not even fair, because I think WandaVision's technically more true to the comics.
The entire
than
series
probably...
is just them in the Avengers Tower, like brewing tea.
Just in some weird love triangle with like Black Widow's ghost.
Yep.
Too soon. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, we'll see. I think that we, based on what we like in the past and based on kind of our preference for Marvel content, I think we're going to enjoy the Winter Soldier better. I don't know enough about Loki really to say what that one's going to be like. I'm not sure. But I think WandaVision is, again, it's a drama. It's a little slower. It's just not really up our alley as much as... Well, you like drama content, so I can't even say that. It's not as much up my alley as I would have liked it to have been.
Up your alley and to the left.
Yeah. I'm trying to get up your alley. You know what I mean? Oh my God, after the podcast. That's it. All right, a little bit longer review today, guys. Obviously, we were talking about the whole season. We really appreciate it if you've been with us thus far. Again, sorry that we were a little bit late on a couple episodes. It is what it is. But we're going to hop on, review Raya and the Last Dragon. So that's coming up here pretty soon, too. Head over to Critic and the Common Man on Instagram if you guys want to have see a little bit more about what we do. If this is your first time checking out our channel, we have a bunch of other videos. I know WandaVision's polarizing. Go to our list of videos. Maybe find a review of a movie that you really loved, maybe a movie that you hated, and check it out. See if maybe we're a little bit more on the same page with something else. That's it. Chris, you got anything else for WandaVision season 1?
Fade out.
Fade out. We're out of here. So long, everybody. Chris,
no, we fixed it.
Who's doing this to you?
We fixed it.
Who's doing this to you?
The hex is gone.
We did fix it.
I am not adding these special effects again, Danny. I'm
so
not.
long, everybody.